Oasis, a professor at economics, boom, 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 boom. Now, let me show you real quick. Petrodollars refers to the money that Middle Eastern countries and members of OPEC received as revenue from Western nations, put back into those same nations' bank. For example, if Libya were to receive money from the U.S. for oil, right, and then put the money back into a U.S. bank, the deposit money is referred to as petrodollars. That's deep. So what has happened is the U.S. has hooked and crooked to save the so-called dollar by buying and selling oil only with American dollars. Only with American dollars. And here's the gangster. Not only is that gangster, here's the gangster now. The axis of evil. Now, this is deep. Everybody in the world buys and sells oil with American dollars. Y'all got that, right? Now, who do you think the axis of evil are? The axis of evil are those people who's not going to buy and sell oil with American dollars. Oh yeah, that's where I was supposed to put the speech at. That ain't there yet. Let me show you something. This right here, how did I get this? This is Iraq oil fields. This tells you pipelines, everything. Here the group of people that's linked into the oil fields, foreign shooters for Iraq's oil field contracts. These are the people that are linked in with them. This is what Cheney had, vice president. Now we all got it. Selected facilities of United Arab Empire. These are also oil things from other nations, other Arabian nations. So they had this before September 11th, is what I'm getting at. So, this right here, the axis of evil are the countries like Venezuela, Iran, China. These are the axis of evil because they wanted to go and not use the American dollar, but the euro. These three countries primarily. And they became the axis of evil. And so when they became the axis of evil, the media got behind it. Now everybody's saying the axis of evil. Hugo Chavez, boom, boom, boom. All based off of power and control. That's what it boils down to. Power and control. Oh yeah. 2002 speech, that's when he said the axis of evil. And then Condoleezza Rice came up, somebody said something about beyond the axis of evil, which Cuba was one of them, and I can't remember the other ones. Shoot. Right, owned by the government, that's the truth. Now, this is interesting. You talk about the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, and we talk about mainstream media. Every day, all day, we'll talk about Israel. Well, I don't hear nothing about anything going on in Greenland, South America, Australia, Africa. Why? There's no real bearing interest there. Yet. Because it's going on, they have moved back into Africa. But right now, the reason you hear this, number one, is because they own the media. And they even have Christians calling the Jews the chosen people. That's deep. That's deep. Now, if you come from the largest landmass, the top of Asia, to the west-east part of Africa, then from Europe down to India, you have an X. Guess where the X lands at? It lands in Israel. X marks the spot. This area, if you control this area, you control everything. That's why the United States has been fighting along with their people in Britain and all the other nations to control this area. Because why? Let me show you if I got it here. If you go back to Trans-Asia trade route, which was created in the 1st century, it connected the Eastern world with the Western world. Here. You have gold routes that come out of East to West Africa. You have the silk routes. You have the natural gas routes. You have the crude oil routes. All coming through Israel. Did you know that? They don't care nothing about no holy land. Their God, their God, is gold, oil, and drugs. G-O-D, gold, oil, and drugs. Now, this right here talks about the origin of the trades. For example, if you come through China, you got the silk, the clothing, spices. If you go through Arabia, you got the slaves. East Africa, the gold. Northern Europe, slaves again. The grains, the ivory, exotic animals. All these things come through this area. All of them. And then it's dispersed in through the diaspora. Now, I was thinking, I wanted to see just how much America occupied in the Middle East. Now, here is the U.S. military bases worldwide, 2001-2003. Here, this is Jerusalem. Oh, right here. This white space, they ain't got that yet. Guess what that is? That's Iraq. No, that's Iran. I'm sorry. That's Iran. See, here's Iran. Here, can you get a close up on it? This is Iran. Right? They say these are the nuclear things, the WMDs, which are really weapons of mass deception that Bush has used. And here is the U.S. In other words, it's just like the SWAT. Put your hands up. We got you surrounded. Any moment. Now, I know a lot of people knew this, but earlier this year, Bush did a radio speech to the people in Iran, to the banking industries, and telling them to pull out. Now, just as one president did in the 40s against Japan, they're doing the same thing here again. Here's the duplication again. If you figure out their patterns, you can predict their next move. You can prepare yourself for the future. Now, in Japan, what was the president? I believe I don't want to say Eisenhower. Either Eisenhower. I think it was Eisenhower. I want to say Eisenhower for the Pearl Harbor thing. If anybody's watched Zeitgeist, they talked about it clearly how the guy froze their assets in America, froze their assets in their country, and then funded their enemies. Those are acts of war. Talk about John Ruskin. I'm change it up here. John Ruskin. John Ruskin was a professor at a college. This was his understudy, Cecil Rhodes. Ruskin talked about, he believed that the state should own everything and one person should own the state. He had an elitist mindset, which influenced Cecil Rhodes. And who was Cecil Rhodes? Cecil Rhodes got rich by mining diamonds and gold in South Africa. This guy owns the Burr diamonds. Okay? They control 60% of the diamonds throughout the world. And this is where you get the term Rhodes Scholar. And here's another one. In Oxford University. That's where you go if you're a Rhodes Scholar. Where you take on the ideology and the mentality and the doctrine and there's another word I can use, indoctrination of this guy, Cecil Rhodes and John Ruskin. It's a whole pattern. Now, what happened is this guy, Cecil Rhodes, went to India. He got some Indians and he went to South Africa and put in the work. Who was one of those Indians? There's India again. Mahatma Gandhi. Okay, who was a civil rights activist. Not like Dr. Martin Luther King, but for the Hindu Indians is what he was. Did you know that this guy hated South Africans?